Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel, the only gun channel on the internet that's dripping with that BDE. That's right, Big Dad Energy. What do you call a magician who's lost his magic? Ian. You call him Ian. I'm David, and this is the Shadow Systems CR920P. Now, this is the new Glock 48 sized variant from Shadow Systems here in Plano, Texas. It shares holsters with the Glock 48 platform gun, but it has on it a compensator straight from the factory. So this is roughly a Glock 48 size pistol. It's actually Glock 43 if you were to get the flush fitting mag. It's very, very short, but it comes with a 10 or 12 round magazine. You can see with the 12 round magazine in, it gives you a full firing grip, just barely with the grip sleeve. But at the same time, if you are worried about concealment, you can use the flush one and it shrinks the grip quite a bit. And I'm happy to report that this is a pretty large comp for a little baby gun like this, and this gun similarly works very well. This was sent to me as a media sample to use in content, so this is what you're seeing. That said, I'm going to be as honest as I can be about this gun. Good news is that the gun performed very well. This is a very positive review. The CR920 is exciting because this is basically at its core, at its soul, it's basically a Glock pistol. The Shadow System guns are basically like higher end versions of Glock pistols. This is the one that they actually pioneered their own magazines for. This is a steel magazine that this is the 12 rounder. The flush fitting one is a 10 round magazine, and it's roughly the size. This is like a P365XL when I use the extended one right there, or a Glock 48. It's basically a Glock 48. It actually uses, this is a QVO tactical holster for a Glock 48, and the CR920 fits in it like it was made for it. So holster support is coming for it straight out of the box. And you know, check out Roger's YouTube channel from QVO Tactical, or his Instagram profile. He's all the time doing cool stuff, and he makes outrageously cool holsters. So the naming convention, CR means compact roll, 9mm. It's the 2020 design variant, as we discussed. It's got a P on the end, which means it has a compensator, which is an aluminum compensator that is held on with a collar that's not threaded on like a traditional compensator. I'll talk about how to remove it at the end of the video, because it's not exactly as easy as you would think, and it will take some cussing the first time you do it. Once you learn the trick, it's easy to take off. But as a result, the gun does come with a punch, so you can take the comp off for cleaning. This would definitely fall into the Elite series of pistols from Shadow Systems, and what Elite means versus Combat is it's got the little slide cuts. You can see kind of the fancy coated barrel. It's got kind of that bronze tin coating on it with the little window cut. It's got the aggressive fins at the top of the gun. For all those features, it's going to come in about $900. It's going to be just shy of $900 is where I've seen these initially hit the web for. So Shadow Systems kind of catches heat because they say their guns have to be broken in, and I have experienced that before. It's because they use match grade barrels, and I mean, when I say broken in, it's like a magazine or two, and then the barrel and slide get fire fit together, and then, you know, it's 100% reliable. This gun was reliable out of the box for me, which is actually a pretty impressive feat when you consider that it's not just that you're balancing this a little lightweight slide with, you know, a 9mm round and the little itty bitty recoil spring, but it's also got a compensator, which means there is kind of another thing that they're going to have to adjust for. And why that's impressive is because the compensator redirects gas up and dumbs down the energy that is going to go onto the slide for it to cycle. It's a defensive use gun, so they had to come up with kind of a do-all sort of recoil spring that is going to allow you to shoot up to +P defensive loads.
This is critical duty 135 +P. Here we go, let's see how it goes. That's not bad. Actually pretty good.
And still cycle the range stuff that is the cheapest stuff on the shelf as well. So I went to the range and I tested this out, and I brought a bunch of different ammo. I'm gonna have to read the list here, so forgive me while I take my eyes off you, dear viewer. I tried it with the Hornady Critical Defense 115, Super Vel 115 Solid Copper Hollow Points +P, Hornady Critical Duty 124, Hornady Critical Duty 135 +P, Sig Sauer V-Crown 124, JHPs, Hornady Critical Defense 147s, Winchester 147s, Tula 115s, Blazer 115s, Magtech 115s, and Super Vel Certified Bulk 115 remanufactured. Now the fun part, would you care to guess how many malfunctions I had? 0. I had 0 malfunctions, and I put about 300 rounds through the gun when I took it out for the first time. It's a little lightweight gun. I mean, it weighs about 20 ounces, I would guess. I'll put whatever it weighs on the screen. And it is a snappy little thing, but all lightweight 9s are snappy little things. But the compensator does tame it an appreciable amount. I will say my big criticism of it is due to the fact it does have a short grip. I personally don't think anybody is actually going to carry with the short base plate magazine. I think everybody's going to carry the gun with the bigger grip on it because it doesn't really affect concealability. And I wish that the rear of the gun extended down to be flush with the 12-round magazine. And as a result, it creates a hot spot about 3/4 the way down my palm, sort of right there. So when you shoot the stouter loads, that's where you start to notice the gun punching you in the hand. Nicer. It's not unpleasant. Don't hear me say that and think that this is unpleasant to shoot. This gun is actually, for a lightweight, small defensive gun, very pleasant to shoot. And I was really impressed with it when I was shooting the plus P loads.
Supervel 115 plus P, solid copper, jacketed hollow point. Let's see how we do. Oh gosh, that's easy. That was stupid easy. This is Critical Duty 135 plus P. Here we go, let's see how it goes. That's not bad. Actually pretty good.
Because the Supervel 115 plus P, which is a gassier load because it's a high velocity load, the compensator absolutely dumbs it down to where it was a total pussycat. It felt almost like a range load. Same thing with the 135s. The 147s, which were a little stouter, did punish the hand a little bit harder, but the 115s, 124s, the gassier type loads, higher velocity stuff, made the gun perform very nicely. Like, it was actually pretty pleasant to shoot. Because this is a skinnier gun, you can see there, this is a DR920, their Foundation series gun. You can see how much skinnier the gun actually is. It's appreciably nicer to carry. I mean, if you've not carried a Glock 48, and this does take Glock 48 holsters, this is a QVO Tactical Glock 48 holster. It fits like it was made for it. So since the gun is skinnier, it has a very generous trigger reach, which means small-handed shooters will find a home on this pistol. The trigger face, similarly, is very broad. It is completely flush with the trigger safety that goes flush so that you can get a very good engagement on the trigger. It is very easy to pull the trigger straight to the rear. That's true of all of the Shadow Systems guns. The DR920, as we see here, has a very similar trigger face. These guns are stupid accurate and very easy to shoot. So this is no exception, but this has the extra bling from the barrel, the nicer slide, and the compensator. The sights that come on the gun are actually pretty quality too. You've got a high-vis yellow night sight with a blacked out set that actually co-witnesses with the optic. They're not like suppressor height sights necessarily, but they have perfect co-witness. Now, this slide is cut for different flavors of compact optic footprints. There are no recoil lugs going up into the optic. I was a bit skeptical of this design initially, but they use these plastic oversized spacers that take all of the slop out of the optic pocket, and they give you these like extra reinforced, like super long screws that like literally go down into the slide almost to the bottom. So it's not like 3 or 4 threads of engagement, but like all the way through the slide. So for a lightweight gun that you want to carry all the time, this gun is super duper capable. It was super accurate shooting it at distance at the range, making hits out to 25 yards, which was the biggest bay I could get for it, was no problem at all. That said, it's not as pleasant to shoot as its bigger brother, the DR920P, and that's because the bigger, fatter grip that comes on the bigger guns, like this is their full-size grip, it's gonna spread out the force better on your hand. The bigger guns are a little bit easier to control, but for a smaller, lightweight package, this thing is no slouch though. I mean, I have to say, it's smaller, so there's not as much to hold on to and control, but it does a very good job all the same. Takedown, because I mentioned I'd tell you how to do it, and I'm not gonna sit there with like the bench photos and all that kind of stuff because I suck at taking that kind of video. But basically, they're gonna give you a punch in the bag. There is a little hole on this side of the compensator right there. With the comp off the gun, I'll show you just kind of how it works. You push in on the side like that. I push in on the detent. I'm actually pushing towards the muzzle end to depress the detent, and then I can just kind of rotate it out like that. That's how you do it. Don't try and just pry it straight up. You have to put the forward pressure on it and then rock it around this little pin on the back side of it. So once you rotate it around, and I just did it off camera, so you know, in your face YouTube, you can see that the collar kind of rotates out to the side like that. There is no threading. There's just kind of a large gap on the front of it, so it doesn't thread on the compensator. It just has a collar, and the compensator sits on there, and you can misclock the compensator when you put it on, which means the little port doesn't go straight up and down. So make sure when you put it on that it is in alignment with the slide, like that looks good. And then I can rotate the compensator back on and it will be reinstalled. You will potentially scare the kids the first time you take the gun apart. I know that I used some colorful language trying to figure out how to get this thing to come off. And it goes back on just as easily. It doesn't take much effort to get it put back together once you understand how it has to happen. So that is the Shadow Systems CR920P. It is a super cool little gun. If you've got questions, leave them in the comments and I'm sure I'll try and respond. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.